What's coming out from Ian Rappaport, Ed Werder, all these insiders?
Ed Werder's social media account, Raps as well. The next deadline for the Cowboys' endless negotiations with Dak Prescott could be extended. The NFL is reportedly considering moving tomorrow's deadline for teams to use the franchise tag since the final salary cap figure remains unknown, which I would think is a pretty important thing to know before you decide whether or not you have to tag these guys or sign them long-term deals. I think that's a fantastic idea that the league will be doing to make sure that you have to know every bit of information you possibly can before you wind up make these decisions. This is good for the player. If the salary cap figure changes, it puts more pressure on the team, or it changes or stays lower, more pressure on the team to sign him long term. This is good for the player. Very good.
Jane Slater from the NFL Network went on TV and talked about some conversations she had with general managers throughout the league when asked if Dak deserves to be paid right behind Mahomes.
I was actually shocked at some of the feedback that I got, guys. They consider him more in the echelon of the top 6 to 10 quarterbacks. They don't think that he should be getting paid an APY close to Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. And the argument for that is he's 1-2 in the postseason. Yes, he's got an incredible win and loss record with the Dallas Cowboys, but it really is the lack of postseason success that leads a lot of them to feel this way.
Lack of postseason success. So because he's 1-2 in the playoffs, you don't pay him big time money. Would you say the same thing about Dan Marino, who struggled with the Dolphins when it came to the postseason after early on in his career? And then it doesn't matter if Dak Prescott is not as good as Patrick Mahomes. It's the way the NFL works. So some of these GMs are just so outdated and prehistoric. Jerry and Steven, maybe two of them, where they're like, oh, doesn't matter. We don't care what you're paying your players. Well, you're going to care when the guy gets to free agency. And then your little tough stance and your way of doing business is going to come back and bite you when you look at Bill Belichick and what's going on in New England.
Yeah.
The greatest coach of all time can't find a quarterback. The greatest coach of all time does not have anyone lining up to go run and play for him. NBC San Fran is reporting that Garoppolo is by far the Patriots' number one plan and option. Matt Stafford didn't want to play for you. Tom Brady was done playing for you. Either it's the culture, the lack of weapons, or both. Now, the culture is winning, but it's not loosey-goosey. You're going there, and your fun level is probably going down. But Bill Belichick, there is a possibility. We all thought he had this grand master plan, right? Mm-hmm. We all thought that either Jared Stidham was going to be much better than we thought, or he was tanking like an evil genius to get one of these quarterbacks. Neither happened. Both failed. Cam Newton was sorry in New England. There is a chance that Bill Belichick goes out without a QB, and he never even sniffs an AFC championship game again because people aren't lining up to play for the great Belichick. Little cowboy lesson in that with losing Prescott possibly.
There is. It absolutely is. You cannot overlook the fact that team, the Patriots, can't find a quarterback. You can't overlook it. And here we are. We're just going to take one and throw him away because you're worried about paying him for one fewer year or one more year. It's just lunacy. And the people on social media, well, let's pay him 35, not 40. Well, if he's worth 35, then he's worth 40. What other player are you going to get for $5 million is going to be an impact guy? None. It's not like we're talking about $4 million versus $40 million. Okay, now you could get a whole defense with that amount of money. But don't sit here and tell me about playoff win-loss record. Tony Romo got a ton of cash for this team. And as people bring up on the fan text, he was the highest paid quarterback in the league at one point, coming off of 8-8 season. So let's not use that. If you didn't use it for Tony, you can't use it for Dak. Period. And there's a lot of guys that are overpaid. There are a lot of guys. And there are a lot of guys that are paid and they haven't won anything. winning something isn't the justification for paying somebody. It's not the justification. Talent is the justification for paying somebody. A lot of guys win that aren't, super talented. Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Neither are as good as Dak Prescott. Neither. But they got paid.
Yeah.
Why can't Dak get paid? Dak's better than both of them.
The Chicago Tribune is reporting that the Bears, they're desperate for Russell Wilson. They're just trying to make it happen. Now, they don't have the draft ammo. They're picking at 20. I mean, you can give them Khalil Mack. So the Bears are trapped. This is why we say, and Mark Cuban, was he the first to say it? The treadmill of mediocrity, the worst place to be is in the middle. Mm-hmm. And New England's finding this out too.
Yeah.
Because they can't draft a quarterback high right now. The Bears, you'd think, the Bears are a top 10 pick. They're sorry. They haven't been good, since Refrigerator Perry and blah, blah, blah. No, they overachieved last year, and they had a fluke season, and now they have no draft pick to show for it that could be thrown to Seattle to get Russell back.
There you go. When you're in that middle, and that middle is, I guess the Cowboys are technically, I think anywhere between 10 and 22, 25 is the middle. Once you get past 25, you were making a decent run. But the Cowboys, the Bears are certainly in there. The Patriots are definitely in there. They're smack dab in the middle. When you're good enough to win 7 games, the Patriots were good enough to win. They had a lot of guys skip out. They had a bad quarterback situation. They were still good enough to win. That was probably a much better team than a 7-win team. But they got nothing. They got nothing out of it. And now they're not going to be able to draft a quarterback that they want. Mac Jones ain't lasting until 15. They're going to draft Kellen Mond.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, maybe. But Cowboys are in that boat. They're not high enough to pick the quarterback that they want. They have the quarterback that they want, and they refuse to sign the deal that he wants. He refuses to take the deal they want.
All right, so that's the latest around the NFL. We'll see if the Dak deadline tag is for tomorrow or it gets pushed back.